our Listener's Choice feature.
Burning questions,
insightful answers.
Listener's Choice
With Clement Manyathela.
So one of our listeners has asked that we discuss the AI tools that are best to use and for what, right? AI is no longer a futuristic dream. I mean, it's here. A lot of the people use the AI tools. It's changing how we do things, how we write, how we research, how we create. But with so many tools and models and features available, it's so easy to get lost. So what we've done this morning is invite someone who will help us pick the right AI system, use its advanced features smartly, but also help avoid the common pitfalls. Whether you're writing an email, you're doing market research, or you're solving a technical problem, AI can be your thinking partner if you know which engine to drive and how to steer it. So Kobus Olivier is a senior manager at Boston City campus who's going to guide us through this conversation. And if you've tried out some tools that have worked for you, whether in your research, in your writing, in your creating, please share those with us. And why has that worked best for you? You can call on 011-883-0702 or send a WhatsApp on 072-702-1702. Kobus, thanks for making time for us. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, sometimes people feel so overwhelmed by the different tools, the AI tools that exist. Where should a beginner even start when choosing between the different AI tools?
It's really very normal to feel a bit lost at first. There are so many of them. I mean, it's not just ChatGPT and Claude and Gemini. There's Microsoft Copilot. There's Google's Notebook LM. There's image-based platforms like DALL-E, Midjourney. And these are all known as generative AI tools, which basically means that they've got the ability to create things. So, like you've already mentioned, they can draft an email for you. They can write a story. They can even design a presentation. They can summarize research reports and generate images from descriptions. So, my answer to this question has always been just pick one and basically stick with it for a while. First of all, understand what the capabilities of AI is, what to actually do with it. And personally, I think ChatGPT is great for beginners. It's very intuitive. It understands natural conversations. You can talk to it like a person, like you and I are talking. It responds in very clear and contextual ways. So it's a good way to start. And before jumping to all kinds of different tools, stick with one and use that until you fully understand the capabilities of AI before actually moving towards other tools.
So for those who probably are thinking, well, I need it for whenever I'm doing research or for whenever I'm writing. So would you still say, for instance, ChatGPT is probably the best, especially for beginners?
Well, it depends on where it is that you're going to go to. We are talking about the generative AI scales. So there's different levels of AI. So we've got the fast models, which is, for example, GPT 3.5, Claude Instant, Gemini. Those are for the quick, fast type of responses that you're looking for. But then there's also, when you start moving to the higher end level things. Like, for example, when you need to summarize a 50-page report, or you need to analyze a research article, or you need to get some strategic insights into something, then you have to start moving to the higher models. GPT 4, 5, Claude 3, Opus, Gemini Advanced. Those are the types of tools that you should then start looking at it. And Clement, sorry, I just wanted to say, I've been listening to your previous conversation on education, and it was so interesting to me on how it's important that students realize how important these tools are. I mean, they can brainstorm essays, analyze data, and so forth. So at Boston City campus, we just last week, we won the Compare Africa Partner of the Year Award. And they're a global industry leader in recognized certifications, preparing students for real-world skills. And it's just, that's the kind of future-ready thinking that we should bring to education and AI into the world today. Sorry to deviate from your question.
No, thanks for that. I wonder, though, if there are courses available for people on how to use these kind of tools? Because I find that sometimes, as I said earlier, some people do get overwhelmed. So, ChatGPT probably is, much easier to use. You just talk to it the way, you prompt it. But are there opportunities for people to take like a quick, 2-hour, 6-hour course on how to use the various platforms and also how to use them ethically? And that will be my next question. We have seen main risks, some risks associated with these kind of platforms, whether it's hallucinations or data privacy. So we still need to be quite cautious when using AI.
Yes. So, relating to the risks, yes, there are some risks. I think that the biggest risks are with generative AI. And you've used the word hallucinate. That's a term that's being used because AI today still, unfortunately, make mistakes. And I'm referring to all of these different platforms, all of these different tools. They can provide you with information that sounds extremely convincing, but it could be completely wrong. And that's why I always say, you should use AI to support your thinking, not to replace it. If you, for example, are using something like ChatGPT, and you don't understand what it's telling you, or you cannot verify what it's saying, then you've gone too far. You step over from using AI to depending on it. The goal here should be to enhance your work and not to outsource your judgment or your thinking to a machine. And then data privacy is also an issue. Never put private information like ID numbers, company files, or so forth on public AI tools. They do offer security and so forth, but why take the risk? So be very careful of that. If you have to really do that, subscribe to the big enterprise versions that actually guarantees confidentiality going forward.
Okay, I've got some questions coming through from listeners. Maybe I should go to that. So it's 15 minutes after 11 o'clock. After the break, I'll go straight to some of the comments and questions coming through from our listeners. We're talking about AI tools, the best ones to use for whatever you are busy with. Have you tried them out? Have you gone further than ChatGPT or Gemini and others, the more default fast models? Or have you tried to get to the more powerful models as well? How has that been for you? Give us a call or send a WhatsApp voice note.
Burning questions.
Insightful answers
Listener's choice.
with Clement Manyathela.
19 minutes after 11 o'clock, we're speaking to Kobus Olivier, who's a senior manager at Boston City Campus, about the best AI tools to use. And I've got some questions here, Kobus. One person says, "Hi, Clement. I'm still a little worried about AI. I haven't really used much of AI, but I am planning on maybe trying out ChatGPT, the beginner ones like Gemini as well. But I have a question here. What are some of the ways that AI can help me in my everyday work? Because I still seem to be functioning well. So if I go to AI tools, how does that change my life?" That's a question from Seppo.
Well, I think one thing that we have to realize is that AI is without a doubt an exceptional tool in terms of the progressive kind, humanity's progressive nature. It has got so many advantages to actually enhance. So if you're using it on a daily basis, or if you are not yet using it, it's a very simple thing to do. It basically, there's a lot of people who complain that AI is actually taking over critical thinking. In other words, I don't really need it. I can think for myself. The fact of the matter is, I think the best answer to the question is to explain to you how I basically use it. I don't just ask AI a question and then give an answer. I actually reason with it. I sometimes disagree with it. I have a conversation with it. And what it does is it actually extends your insight. It is like having a conversation with a very intelligent person who doesn't necessarily know everything, but has got the ability to inform you. So it helps you to really think critically. Take a common task, like, for example, let's say that you have to draft an email to your boss about a sensitive matter. You put that email, anonymously into an AI engine, and you start asking it. You tell, do you think that I'm going to fire? Do you think this is correct? But my boss is a good guy, surely he wouldn't. So I'm having conversations with it, and what it does is it gives me insight. It gives me more information. It leads my thinking into avenues that I would normally not even have thought about. So that's a very good way of starting to use AI to basically assist and to supplement what you are currently doing in your workplace.
Here's a WhatsApp voice note.
Just a quick question on this AI stuff. I've heard recently that UCT has now allowed students to use AI. I'm not sure if it's for part of research or is it just using AI in general. I just wanted to know what's the view there, because I'm trying to understand, doesn't this now encourage students to, cheat? Or how exactly this kind of work? I'm just trying to have a bit of an understanding on that. Or whether does it mean this changes how the university will be asking questions and stuff like that, whether it's going to be maybe more application based. Yeah, just want a view on that one.
Well, my understanding, and I'll get Kobus to explain further here, is universities have always allowed students to use AI. I go to Gibbs, and the only thing you can't do, of course, is just go and instead of doing your own research, you just go and tell, ChatGPT or whatever AI tool to do your work, because there are systems at school that can pick up that this is the work of AI, which is actually good. And the systems are very, very, very good. They'll tell you 30% of that work, or 10%, or 11, or 50% of that work actually is from an AI program. So you still need to be careful around how you use it. You can't use it to do the work for you. But as Kobus said, reason with it. Try and, you get more insights as you use it. I imagine. Kobus?
Well, it's actually a very insightful question, because the effect that artificial intelligence is going to have on education is really, it's far-reaching. And I think we have to define, what do we mean by cheat? What exactly is cheating in terms of education? Is asking it a question, copying and pasting it into an answer? Yes, that is cheating. Should we be encouraging students to use artificial intelligence? Without a doubt. The thing is just that educational systems are going to have to adapt. They are going to have to adapt, especially in terms of the form of assessment, assignments, so forth, to shape it in such a form that actually encourages students to use artificial intelligence while still learning the core competencies of the curriculum. Now, that's not an easy thing to do. And it is true that, these days when you submit an assignment, they don't just check, if you've copied somebody else's work. It also checks whether you've made use of an AI engine to generate the work. But it's a controversial subject at the moment. I hear you saying that it's exceptionally efficient, but it still is a controversial subject. My short answer, definitely use AI. We should, as educational institutions, definitely encourage students.
But
to
there's
use
also
AI.
a responsibility on the institutions themselves to also train their students on how to use it. I know there are often courses that are offered. In fact, some of them are even compulsory, where you have to sit through and listen to, how you can ethically use AI. So what responsibility is there then, Kobus, on the institutions themselves to teach the students more about these platforms and how to use them ethically?
Absolutely. Without a doubt, especially when you go to a higher level of education. The students should definitely, and the word ethical, I think, is the thing that is key, is how do we ethically use artificial intelligence? And I want to track that back to a very simple thing that I've said. The minute that you get something out of artificial intelligence which you do not really understand yourself, which you cannot critically analyze or question, then you've crossed the border. Then you are no longer ethical in terms of what you do in education. So it should be used to enhance. It should be used to support. It should be used to supplement insight. That's the ethical use of it. And do educational institutions have to actually teach their learners on how to ethically use AI without a doubt? But at the same time, educational institutions will need to adapt
Yeah.
in the methods in which they assess to actually allow students to ethically use artificial intelligence.
Yeah, and Timis on the WhatsApp line says, yeah, but if you use AI info, won't you be prosecuted for plagiarism? Yeah, I mean, that's a real thing. And in fact, sometimes you'll get penalized by that institution. So that's why Kobus keeps saying ethically using AI. That doesn't mean you must just go there and let AI do your work. There are some very advanced systems at these institutions that can pick up if you've actually just simply gone to ChatGPT and asked it to do that work for you. And, there are some really stringent barking. What's the English word for it? So when you do that, there will be a price to pay, is what I'm trying to say, basically. There's another question here, Kobus. Someone says, hi, Clement, please ask Kobus, what does he think is next for AI, especially as it moves towards real-time voice, video, and reasoning capabilities? What do you think is next?
Well, also a very interesting question. I mean, the question is, where are we actually going with AI? We are heading into an area of real-time multimodal AI. We already have things like ChatGPT's voice mode, Google Gemini's Live, Apple's upcoming AI assistant, which understands speech, visuals, and even gestures at once. So if you combine that, which is happening and which we are going, if you combine that with adaptive and with autonomous AI, then we're talking about systems that can actually take action without you even interacting with it. In other words, it analyzes your life, it analyzes your situation, and then it acts without even you prompting it to do so. And I think that is where AI is going. I mean, we've already got autonomous cars that decides how to drive. And so AI is in every sense of the word, in every sense of the industry. Imagine, for example, having AI sit in a meeting, recording the conversation, and then after the conversation, sending a summary of the meeting, which is already happening in, things like Teams and so forth, but actually creating a to-do list, actually take that list and automatically emailing it to every person, automatically scheduling it, putting it into your schedule, automatically tracking whether it was done or not, and then automatically combine the outcomes thereof and notify everybody. Think of the extent of the possibilities of that in where artificial. And I believe that that's where it is actually going. It is going to automate much, much more. It's going to become much more autonomous. Than it currently is. It's going to become much less necessary for us to ask it to do something. It is going to start to automatically do things for us.
Yeah. Well, Kobus Olivier, thank you for speaking to us. He's a senior manager at Boston City campus. Oh, my goodness. I still need to get myself to learn how to use or even use these. I don't even know how to use the most basic of these AI tools. But that's the thing. We need to start learning and keep up with the times because this is where the world is going. I'm just so scared of have you seen the deep fake videos where they literally take a video of you sitting like now in studio and then they take this video, they make me say other things and it looks like it's real. That's so scary. That's how people get scammed. So I worry about these tools. So we need to think carefully around how we use them responsibly. Zeno on the WhatsApp line says, Clement, maybe you wanted to say repercussions earlier on. Yes. In fact, the word I was looking for is consequences. There are consequences if you plagiarize at university. And some of the consequences are very, very severe. You could lose an opportunity to ever enroll at that institution, if not other institutions as well. So the ethical use of AI is still very important, even as a student. It's 11:30.